Hi, these are your skeletal and muscular notes. Please make sure that you have these notes copied in Notability. You have a split screen with the video up so you can see and hear and watch all at the same time. Let's get started filling this in. So your skeletal system are going to include all 206 of your bones. Of course, when you're born as a baby, you're going to have way more bones than that, as you read on your Is This True Facts or Is It Myths of the Body? We did at the beginning of the body systems unit. But yes, 206 bones of your body are included in the skeletal system. In the pictures up here, I put a picture that has, all the bones have names if you want to look at some of the names of the bones. But just know that, the skeletal system are going to be all your bones. Now, our bones are there for several things they do for us. So let's fill in the 5 functions of the skeletal system. Let's write that in the title here. 5 functions of the skeletal system. Number 1, our bones provide shape and support. That's how we're able to stand up and we're not just a bag of skin. Shape of the skeletal system depends on the function of the organ or organ systems. On the functions of the organs or organ systems that it's protecting. So, for example, the skull, which is in our head, it is very thick and hard to form a protective covering for the brain. You can also see here, these are our ribs, and the ribs are formed like this in these lines that go around because they're covering our lungs, and our lungs are going to expand and contract, so they need to be able to have that space where they're able to expand and contract. This bone that looks like a bow tie, that's our sternum, also known as the breastbone. It's there to protect the heart where the ribs are attached. Okay. Number 2 function, the skeletal system enables us to move. Enables us to move. Muscles pull on the bones. Muscles pull on the bones to make the body move. Number 3, the bones protect your internal organs. Internal organs are delicate and fragile. They have very big jobs to do, but they're very fragile and delicate. So they have to be protected by something strong and firm. Example, the breastbone, which is the easier name. It's the one I was talking about just a minute ago, called the sternum. It looks like the bow tie, a necktie. It's attached to the ribs and it protects the heart and lungs. Let's look at that again. Again on our picture. Right here. The sternum. Number 4, it produces substances our bodies need. Produces substances our body needs. So let's hear what these substances are. The bones produce blood cells. Blood cells. They're primarily made in the long bones of your arms and legs. Arms and legs. Blood cells are primarily made in the long bones of arms and legs. And number 5, it stores materials until your body needs them. Your bones, they store materials until your body needs them. So let's hear what they store. They store calcium, calcium, and phosphorus. Here we go with phosphorus. pH, OS, pH, ORUS. So our bones store calcium and phosphorus. I know you've heard of calcium, and you understand that has to do with bones and healthy bones, but also phosphorus. And so when your body needs these, the bones release small amounts of them. So let's write in the bones. The bones release small amounts of them into the blood. So by now, you're getting the understanding that the blood and what it does, it carries things where they needs to go. So that's how the calcium and phosphorus get to where they need to go. The bones release them, and the blood takes them where they need to go. Okay, a couple things about bones is that they are both strong, but also lightweight. Strong and lightweight. That's pretty unusual for something to be really strong and not heavy. But we need the bones to be lightweight because we have to move. And so all that extra, if they were really heavy, it'd be so much extra energy we'd need to move our bodies. So it's good that they're lightweight, kind of like the metal titanium. It's strong and very light. And bones contain cells and tissues. Cells and tissues. They also, because they have cells and tissues, they will also contain blood and nerves. All right, so I wanted to talk about the structure of bones because they're not just hollow items. They're not just empty inside. They are full of other substances, as we've been talking about. So at the top of your notes, there is this website at the top. You can go and look at the parts of the bone interactive, and it gives you, I'll open it really quickly. It gives you different pages and different bits of information here that talk about what different parts mean, the perosteum, compact bone, what it means down here, but it shows you those things. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that you could go and look at that to give further information. Okay, so the structure of a bone, let's write in some of the structures because this is what it looks like. If we cut a bone open, what it would look like inside. This is a cross-section of a bone, so if we cut it in half, we can see the different layers and what it all looks like. And of course, because it's science, everything has a hard, complicated name and an easy name typically too. So we're going to talk about those. So the bone, it has a thin, tough membrane that covers the bone. Let's write in membrane. A thin, tough membrane covers all bone except the ends. The ends may have cartilage, or they'll have another type of tissue there. Blood vessels and nerves. Enter and leave the bone through this membrane. Now, the membrane is called perosteum, and I'm going to label it on the diagram here. Sometimes it's called the membrane. The perosteum is the hard word. And I'm also going to label, you have blood vessels. So label this on yours too. And there's also the green ones. Those are going to be nerves. So perosteum is the membrane that covers the bones. And then inside that perosteum, that membrane, are your blood vessels and your nerves. Okay, let's go back to our next bullet. Compact bone, C-O-M-P-A-C-T. Compact bone is under the membrane. It is dense, but not solid. So compact bone, and so when you picture a bone or the skeleton like this, and you're picturing that, what you see, like the whiteness of it, the off-white color, that's the compact bone. That's what you're picturing. The next bullet, canals. C-A-N-A-L-S. Canals, like tunnels. They run through the compact bone, carry blood vessels and nerves. Next bullet. Inside the compact bone, inside. The compact bone is a layer of spongy bone. They call it spongy bone because it looks like a sponge, but of course, it is, as you can see up here, spongy bone has a harder name. It's called cancellous bone, and it's that yellow with the dots right down here. That's the spongy bone, the inside. And typically it's not really like a gold color like that, but they're just trying to show you there's a difference what's inside. So spongy bone is inside of the compact bone. Next bullet. Spaces in the bone contain marrow, red and yellow. So there's red marrow and yellow marrow. Red marrow produces blood cells. So this is what I'm talking about earlier, what our bones make. They make blood cells. That's made in the red marrow, the red bone marrow. Yellow marrow stores fat, which serves as a source of energy. Spaces in the bone contain marrow, red and yellow. Red marrow produces blood cells. Yellow marrow stores fat, which serves as a source of energy. So this points to the bone marrow. You can see the different parts right here of the different marrow, like the red part and then the yellow part right there. Right here, really. So there's bone marrow. Okay, some more information about bones is just know where two bones come together is a joint. Depending on what the bones are used for determines the type of joint. They could be movable, or immovable. So depending on what the bones are doing, the joint will be decided if it's movable or not movable, basically. So let's give a quick example of where you'd find immovable. Immovable found in the skull is one example. You have different plates in your skull that the bones come together. Those are joints. They're immovable. They're not moving. But it's where two bones come together. So that it's considered a joint, but it'll just be immovable, not movable. And a movable found in places where there is a range of movement. A range of movement, such as your hip, your knees, your fingers, your toes, your shoulders, your neck, your wrist. Those are just some places I wrote where you have movable joints because there's a range of movement in some way, back and forth, gliding, around motion. So just letting you know, those are movable joints where two bones come together, but there's movable, a range. Okay, so how our skeletal system helps to maintain homeostasis? Well, the skeletal system regulates the amount of calcium and phosphorus in our bodies. So let's write calcium. It's regulating that amount. A lot to work with you at the endocrine system and nervous system. New bone tissue. Have you ever broken a bone? Well, new bone tissue will form after breaking a bone. New bone tissue will form after breaking a bone to repair and restore the damaged bone, to get you back into homeostasis. This next bullet kind of goes with the one about calcium and phosphorus, but when mineral levels in the blood are too high, bones absorb some of the minerals and store them as mineral salts, which is why bones are so hard. They're storing a lot of mineral salts. When blood levels of minerals are too low, bones are going to release some of the minerals back into the, can you guess? Blood. Bringing our bodies back into homeostasis. So the levels are going to be normal whenever the minerals are brought back when it's too low. Okay, one of the last things is knowing about the two types of parts of our skeletal system. We have the appendicular skeleton right here, what's in dark red, and the axial, which is in the dark red right here. So it can be divided, let's write this in our blanks. The human skeleton can be divided up into two parts. The axial skeleton, which is AXIAL, and of course it's written down here too. The axial skeleton, which is the central core of our skeleton. See, it's the central part. It has our skull, our ribs, our sternum, our backbone of the body. It's our central core of the body. And the, are you ready to spell it? Appendicular, which is spelled below too. APPENDICULAR. The appendicular skeleton, which forms, oh, I have a typo, which forms just mark that the which forms everything outside the core of the skeleton. The extremities, which would be your arms and legs, and your hips. Okay, your shoulders, arms, hips, legs, fingers, toes. That's your appendicular. Axial, appendicular. Just some quick interesting facts. I'll go through these pretty quickly. Skeleton, it comes from a Greek word meaning a dried body. But our bones aren't dead. They are very much alive. So some evidence that our bones are living is from your notes. Can you think of some ways that they have cells? They contain cells, tissues, nerves, blood vessels. I'm just writing several things that give us evidence that bones are living. And the other thing I wanted to say is they repair when broken. Doesn't mean they repair quickly or without help, but they do repair because cells are regrowing. Just to give you some evidence that they are living. 20% of an average adult's body weight is bone. Most of a child's bones contain only red bone marrow. As a teenager, only the ends of your femurs, which are your thigh bones, your hip bones, and sternum contain red marrow. The skull is made of 30 different bones with all those immovable joints. The largest bone is the femur, which is your thigh bone, femur. The smallest bone is found in the, want to take a guess? Some of you know. The ear. And lastly, more than half of your 206 bones are in your hands and feet. More than half of your bones are in your hands and feet. Okay, so that was a quick facts. You can pause it, write it down. We're going to move on to your muscular notes quickly. And those are, I think they're shorter. Okay.